Good afternoon and welcome to Genomics Gupshup. We are now on the 22nd episode and probably it might be the last episode of the year. And we are delighted because this is the time where everybody starts thinking about nutrition. We have Meena Sharma, who is registered and the chief dietitian at Healeo and is very well regarded in the field of nutrition and Nutrigenomics especially. So welcome to the show, Meena, and we are delighted to have you here.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for inviting me. Actually, it's my honor to sit here and discuss with you on genetics, because you are one of the OGs, the originals in this field, especially in India. So it's my honor to sit and discuss nutrition and genomics with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Meena, you want to start off with like, why did you choose nutrition as a career for yourself?
Actually, it's interesting. For in my bachelor's, I did my degree in nutrition and dietetics. I was not so serious about nutrition back then because this is maybe 10-15 years back. But when I did my master's, it was in clinical nutrition and dietetics. That's when I started realizing the importance of nutrition and how can a nutrition knowledge and nutrition therapy can help a person prevent himself getting into lifestyle diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, fatty liver, so many lifestyle disorders we have. And basically, if you see the primary causative factor behind all these lifestyle diseases is a lifestyle, a faulty lifestyle, which comprises of diet, fitness, everything. So that's when I realized that, okay, this is something, a new field, which will have a great impact on society in general. And then I got into it, more detailed into it. Then I got exposed to nutrigenomics. I got exposed to gut microbiome, which this field is ever changing. We are speaking something on right now, and in 1 or 2 months, 1 or 2 years, something else will come up. So this is ever changing field, and that is very fascinating. uh, I remember we used to give an advice that you need to eat too early, like some 10 years back, and now we have changed it, and we are saying this thing that eat when you feel hungry. Intermittent fasting is in the trend, so this is ever changing field, and that got me very interested, and that's why nutrition is the most favorite topic I can that I really feel grateful that I am into this field and I can help people and in betterment of their lifestyle.
True. I remember that, we were having this discussion once and that we all look at a lot of, what medicine we eat and all of that. But the thing we consume the most, we don't bother sometimes, right? And I think that's ultimately what we are, right? You are what you eat is what is said. Right? So,
true, ma'am. Yes.
So, but how did you come up with focusing on nutrigenomics? You mentioned it's a changing field, but is there something that triggered you in terms of looking at nutrigenomics as something that the nutrigenomics, the field which is now an evolving field? Why did you decide to do a course in that space?
Yeah, ma'am, because actually we have been doing I have been doing many consultations, many counseling sessions where my main focus or main clientele was for weight loss, obesity, fat loss, muscle gain. And even there are certain primary aspects that we really look into. That number one, carbohydrate counting, calorie counting, micronutrients, macronutrient distribution, all these, along with that, lifestyle management, eating habits, so all portion control, all these small pointers that we really definitely take into consideration. But sometimes, when even after applying all these things, we don't get the result that we really want to, right? So that's what got me thinking, that is there anything else that we are not aware of, that the knowledge is missing in from nutrition point of view. And that's when I realized that nutrigenomics is a field that genetics, genes will tell you, they will determine what kind of food You are good in metabolism, what kind of food is not suitable according to your genetic structure, and that will have a great impact in everything as per se, it from obesity, from weight loss, to diabetes, to any lifestyle diseases, or not even diseases. We can talk about this in general, in prevention of getting into anything. So if I know, so it's as simple as that, that if I know what kind of foods my body is suitable to, I will definitely include more of those foods. If I know what kind of foods my body is allergen to, or maybe not suitable to, I will try to restrict those foods. And this is the information that we can get from nutrigenomics, you know.
Nutrigenomics, like you mentioned, is the science of understanding, how genes impact your nutrition and all of that. So can you give us some examples of, some case where you've seen it work, and the kind of things that you see that it really has
Yes.
been a big difference?
Yes, definitely. Ma'am, I would really like to point out, there are many case studies, there are many examples. Right now at Healeo Nutrition, what we are doing is fatty liver reversal. So if you know, I'll just tell in a bit for the audience that, yeah, in a bit for the audience that fatty liver is a lifestyle disease. Again, it's just that excess amount of fat built up in the liver. Normally in the liver, up to 10% fat is fine. That's a normal level of fat in the liver. But when it goes above that, above 10%, it is graded, it is normally known as fatty liver. And there are grades of fatty liver, grade 1 to grade 2, grade 3. And if it starts building up, it also causes inflammation in the liver. And that's when we call it as fibrosis and cirrhosis. Now, these are the grades of fatty liver. And if you look into the research, if a person is into cirrhosis level, it is difficult to reverse that. Because by that time, the liver cells they are not functioning at all. But if you know that you are into fatty liver grade 1, if you are into fatty liver grade 2, with correct lifestyle, we can definitely reverse this. Okay. If you know, ma'am, there is no medicine for fatty liver currently. If any doctor, any gastroenterologist will tell you to work on your lifestyle. But what to work exactly? What kind of diet will suit me? If you just go on Google and type fatty liver, you are going to get 10-15 different kinds of diet. And it's same for weight loss as well. So, and fatty liver also, unfortunately, the percentage is increasing day by day in India. After diabetes, it is one of the most prominently seen lifestyle diseases in India. About, I think, if I'm not wrong, it's about 20 to 30% population in India are having fatty liver.
And is it only for people who are alcoholics, or is it also the non-alcoholic fatty liver that you see?
Yeah, so this is the figure that I just spoke about, is unfortunately is not alcoholic fatty liver. This is non-alcoholic fatty liver. So basically there are two types of fatty liver, alcoholic and non-alcoholic. So even people will have this misconception that only people who consume alcohol will have fatty liver. But unfortunately, that's not the case. The percentage of NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, is higher. It's up to 30%. And what is the causative factor is wrong lifestyle. So then when we saw this, percentage, that why so much of fatty liver in India, what is the causative factor? And that's when we realize the importance of nutrigenomics in this case, because there is no fixed medicine. Any other disease you take, cancer, diabetes, hypertension, there is some medicine treatment available. But for fatty liver, there is no. So if I am giving a diet, if I am giving a dietary therapy, it has to be accurate. Where do I get accurate information? Your genetic structure, your genetic data. And when we got into this nutrigenomics, we realized that there are so many pointers like gluten intolerance, lactose intolerance. We got to know in detail about metabolism of fat, metabolism of carbohydrate of people, of clients, and we used that data in implementation of their dietary regime. And I'm very happy and proud to say that we have successfully reversed fatty liver from even grade 2 to grade 1 to grade 0 with the help of nutrigenomic data.
So you have grade 0, grade 1, grade 2, and then you go into the cirrhosis level.
Yes, grade 3 with fibrosis and then cirrhosis.
So I remember we were having this, we were creating this app for liver genome, we call that, with Dr. I think Dr. Soin from was trying to create this for educating people about fatty liver. I remember this was some time back. And I remember that, there was a relatively easy way to be able to at least find out if you are even susceptible. One is, of course, looking at a genomic profile.
Yes.
But also, I think people who could do a little blood test and understand their those different levels were able to at least get some sense. So how do you do the, I'm not an expert in that space, but what do you do from helping, do you recommend everyone to do a genomic profile, or is it more, you do also do a blood test with that? How does that
Yeah.
go?
So there are few diagnostic tests that you can do if you want to know if you have fatty liver or not. Number one is you can get your liver function test done. So you can get to know about your liver enzymes, whether they are normal or they are higher. If they are elevated, that certainly indicates that something is wrong. Then it's just a primary test. It doesn't indicate that you have fatty liver, but it just gives us a little more information that if you should go for further tests. Okay, then second is you can also go for ultrasound. Okay, in ultrasound you get to know in detail about whether you have fatty liver and which grade of fatty liver you have. If there is fat buildup, we definitely get to know from that. Okay, ultrasound. And third is fibroscan. Now fibroscan, you get an in-depth, in detailed analysis of fatty liver, how much fat is deposited, and everything you get to know. There are certain tests also, you will be knowing those kpa. So these kpa will tell us about what is your level, and if the kpa level is more than 5, more than 6, that indicates that fibrosis can also be there. If it is more than 7, more than 8, that indicates fibrosis is there. Okay, so these are very in-depth details where one can also get this test done and understand whether they have fatty liver or not.
And you mentioned like a very large percentage, right? 20 to 22, which is a huge number. Where are you seeing these increased cases? Is it in the 20 to 30 age group, 30 to 40? Is there some sense of where we are seeing a growth in terms of where the lifestyle diseases are springing up more?
Sure, ma'am. Yes, what we are currently seeing is into the age group of 20 to 40.
Wow.
Okay, so so all young, all working people are currently having more of fatty liver percentage. Yes, more than 40 is also there, but if you ask me what is the percentage wise, what is the most commonly seen age group, then I will say 20 to 40.
But in many ways, it's a good sign also. The fact that they are coming to you means that they want to reverse it, right?
Yes.
So it means there's an increased awareness about, that nutrition plays a role in fatty liver, and they are coming.
Definitely.
So I guess, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe earlier we didn't detect as many, and now we detect, we understand, and we are able to reverse. So I guess, some ways, maybe it's a good thing that people are coming to you and not, I think, but do you think that people are coming to you post finding out that they have, or is it people who are, let's say, maybe somebody who is susceptible to getting there, right?
So yes, ma'am, we are getting both kinds of people. Percentage of people who already have fatty liver is definitely more, because then they want to know, because it's a progressive disease. If a person who is in fatty liver grade 1, he also wants to understand whether he has a susceptibility to get into cirrhosis. And genomics, genetic study, nutrigenomic will also help him to give that exposure as well. So if I know if a person, let's say, is in grade 1 and if he is at risk of cirrhosis, that is the point, that is the high time he can work into his lifestyle with the help of nutrigenomics and reverse it. Also, we are having people who are having family history of fatty liver, family history of getting into cirrhosis, and they want to understand whether they are at risk of cirrhosis or fatty liver in general. Okay, so that is also the kind of strata we are getting. We are also getting people who regularly consume alcohol. They want to understand what is happening at genetic level, that are they at risk of fatty liver, are they at risk of cirrhosis. But I will say the percentage is lesser, but it is there, it's there.
And clearly, I think this is a big major part of, you said, diabetes and fatty. So what you're doing is clearly something that is there. But other chronic illnesses, do you think also people come for? And is that an area that people come and consult, or is it mostly these two, or is it also other chronic diseases that you see patients for?
Yeah, so with fatty liver, what we have observed, it's most of the times it is not alone. It will come, so a person will be having some or other comorbidity like diabetes or overweight, obesity, hypertension, cardiovascular diseases. Most of the times these comorbidities are present, and sometimes it is just fatty liver, but the percentage will be lesser, because as we just discussed, these are all lifestyle diseases. But we are mostly not thinking from a point of view of, okay, let me only reverse fatty liver. Definitely, when we integrate nutrigenomic data into their diet and lifestyle, we are also working on their getting into their blood sugars to normal, getting their HbA1c to normal, getting their hypertension. Yeah, so we are also working on, it's a holistic wellness, let me put it that way. So when you try to work on your diet, when you start doing healthy, when you start eating healthy, it will definitely give you impact on everything. Total health will improve.
So I mean, I know that, for different people, they catch on to a fad over a period of time, and they think that just because it worked for one person, it will work for them as well. And then they typically would start that process and then quickly not be able to keep up with it. So, do you see that also with your, patient, and when once they understand the genomics piece of it, do you see a bigger or a stronger adherence to their diets, and are they happier with that?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. Ma'am, nowadays everybody is well read. As a nutritionist, I don't think so. My role is to tell people that street food is bad for you. Everybody knows that. Even a 4-year-old child will tell you that street food is unhealthy for you. So that's not what I should do. That's not what my profile is about. My role is guide a person, help them in getting into their fitness goals, right? So when a person mostly comes to us, he or she has already tried all these fad diets that you are speaking about, whether it's keto diet, whether it's detox diet, or some watermelon diet. There are so crazy diets available now.
Watermelon diet, so just drink
eating watermelon throughout the
that's
day.
it.
Yeah, that's it, for 8 days straight.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it exists. So doing these crazy diets, which are, number one, not sustainable. So they try all these kinds of diet, they get result, they lose weight, but as we all know, they regain the weight back, and that's when they realize that this is not going to help in long terms. And when we sit with them for genetic counseling, and when we look at their nutrigenomic data, and there are genes, ma'am, you know better than me, FTO, these are all the genes, MC4R gene, which tells us about the snacking pattern, FTO tells us about their overall, if they will gain the weight back, if they have tendency to gain weight back. So that's where we realize, and they also realize, that short-term diets are not going to be useful. What we need is a sustainable diet. What we need is a long-term solution, right? And that's where nutrigenomic plays a role, because then we know, okay, these are the foods for sure we are good according to your genetic profile, and we can integrate those foods in you.
Yeah.
And with those kinds of diet, you may not find that diet a fancy diet. You may not find that diet a very different than your general Indian foods, but that's what will work for you in long term.
I think that's one of the big misconceptions people have, that, if they follow something that is interesting and foreign sounding, that it will work for them. And one of the things that, I was able to, over the last year, I think initially during COVID, I put on a lot of weight, and I managed to lose it back. And for me, it was mostly looking at my Genomepatri and making sure that I do little things over a period of time. And I think
Right.
it's accomplishable as long as you are, you're able to follow something that you're used to, you like it, and you're able to do that. And I think that's the thing, that people think that it's not like, food is not something you do for a short time. You do it forever, right? And I think you have to do something that will continue to, your past, your history also makes a difference in terms of how you are, what kind of foods you like, not just yours, your ancestors also.
Yes, definitely.
And also, I think, how do you make sure that, you don't get so bored of that special treatment that will get you to actually lose weight. So I think ultimately fitness is a continuous progress, right? So, people have to understand that it is not a one-time thing, that they're done, it's a goal, and it's done. You have to continue to sustain.
And ma'am, I think what you're saying is very right and very perfect, and to the very apt for this time, because we are talking in December end, and most of the times we see that everybody wants to join a gym in the first week of Jan. Everybody wants to start new diet in the first week of Jan, and this is very important to understand in a whole, that there is nothing which will give you result if you do anything for short term. Only January 2-3 weeks, if you do go for any kind of diet, it's not going to give you any result. And most of the times people don't realize that even if they're losing weight, even if they're losing weight quickly, that's mostly muscle mass.
Yes.
That's not a fat loss. Fat
That's
loss
that's not so good for you in the long run.
not good for you. If you lose your muscles, you will feel weak. You will feel less with energy. You will feel lethargic, right? And that's most of the times we see people losing weight and they don't feel happy. And this is important, that we should understand that if you're not feeling better, if you're not feeling lighter, then that's not fat loss, and that's not what we are supposed to do.
You're supposed to feel better after you're So one more thing that, a lot of times, I remember when we first started doing Genomepatri, one of the things people said was, oh my God, you have alcohol, addiction in there. And I don't want to take this because my wife will see it and will stop me from drinking alcohol, or vice versa, right?
Yes.
And I kept, we had to explain to people that it's not that it means that you're susceptible, but unless you reach a certain number of, there's a threshold after which it becomes like, you will become an alcoholic. But I think people need to understand that, some of these things like coffee consumption and all these dependencies, but also foods, are things that you can actually tweak in your life, right?
Yes.
And have you found any person who found it very difficult to look at a genetic report and sort of, thought that was deterministic? I'm sure you get that also a lot, that people think that just because it's written over there, it means that they have it and they can't do anything about it. So what do you tell these patients or people?
Yes, we do get these kind of, I have also gotten few people who first of all, they think that this is going to happen with them. They panic. There is a level of more stress in them that we see, and That's when our job as a counselor, our job as nutritionist come into that. We are telling them it's not a diagnostic tool. This is the setup of genes that you were born with. So you can take this as a, so I always tell all my clients that you can take this as a report card. You know what we used to get in school, we used to get some like good marks in one or two topics, and some topics we were not good at, so we used to get lesser marks. So wherever you see green, wherever you see good response in your nutrigenomics, those are your good areas, those are your strong points. Wherever you see red regions, those are the points we need to work upon. If you see a risk there, but at the same time, if you work on the environment, if you provide an ideal environment to your body, to your liver, to your if you change your lifestyle in general, we can prevent this disease or lifestyle thing from you getting into. And this is what the purpose of genetics. I think you started with, I think you can also tell me that you must have also gotten people with these things, and how did you handle those?
So I think, in many ways I tell them, I think using analogies is a great way. So one of the ways is to say that, everybody lives life, right? But you want to live it in a better way. So we currently use Google Maps for, let's say you want to go to some place.
Yeah.
But Google Maps, what does it help you? It tells you there's a congestion in one street. So you take another street and you find it and you go. So it's not that you couldn't go through the place that was congestion, but it's just that you will be delayed, you will be annoyed, you'll be angry. And it's the same thing with, so once you understand your genetic makeup, then you know that these are not the most ideal ways of getting there. And therefore you take the route that will give you or a more healthier way of living. So that was one thing. And since you mentioned report card, I think one of my board members had mentioned and actually wrote about this in I think Economic Times is something I remember, that it's like you are born with a bank balance, right? So when your parents give you some wealth, then when you start off with, but we have seen over many generations that some people, even with nothing, can grow that wealth to great amounts. And there are many people who start off with a silver spoon in their mouth, but they end up losing all of it, right? It's the same thing. Genes is just one part of the whole puzzle. It's many other pieces that actually are involved in wellness, and that's basically what ultimately people need to understand, that life is an equation. Your constants are your genetics. But you have so many other variables that you play around with, and nutrition is probably the biggest part of that.
So this is where, ma'am, epigenetics come into. Epigenetics is the impact of the environment on your genes. So as you rightly said, genes is one part. So if you just know the information of your genetic profile, it will definitely help you out. It will smoothen your journey, and you can work on different other aspects like diet, physical activity, sleep, hydration, stress management, lifestyle in general. And if you start working on all these pointers, it will definitely help you and smoothen your journey.
So can you just give us any case study that you found interesting? Anybody?
Okay. I think we had actually, ma'am, we have a very interesting case study with who we started with him. We had a client whose fatty liver was in grade 3. Actually, there was fibrosis as well. And now, just as I was also speaking, that 1 and 2, we can definitely guarantee you that it is reversible. But the fibrosis has already started. And KPA was around 11, I guess. 10 or 11, which is very high. Yes. But still he was determined. He wanted to change, and this was NAFLD. This was non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And when we saw his report, Nutrigenomic report, we saw different allergens in his particular cases. Like lactose was an allergen for him, so he was lactose intolerant. He was gluten intolerant as well. Wow. And and even with fat metabolism, we saw that his MUFA, his monounsaturated fat metabolism, is not great. So then we had to cut off all these allergens from his diet. But at the same time, his what the positive things were that his protein response was good. His protein response, so that was a good sign for us. His even fiber response was good. So all this information that we put into in his diet and exercise regime, even with exercise point of view, he was susceptible into muscle injury. So that part was also taken care, that not going into intense activities, intense exercise sessions, warming up is necessary. All these guidelines were given, and I'm happy to tell you that within 3 months his kpa got down from 11 to, I think his kpa is 4 today.
Wow, that's
And there was no medicine. We just only worked on nutrigenomics, and that was possible.
yeah. I think that's fantastic, and I think it'll give hope to lots of other people who think that now that they've progressed to a point where it's difficult to trace back. I think ultimately, your guidance as a nutritionist and as a nutrigenomics expert, and also the person's willpower, right? I mean, sometimes
Yes.
that is a important element. Because
Yes.
keep telling that you can give them all the guidance, but if the person doesn't do it, then you can't do anything about it.
Yes, I think they are the boss.
Yes.
We are guiding them, but it's the person that needs to decide that, okay, this I have to do it, and this will definitely help me. So willpower is important, and that will definitely change. Positive environment, optimism will definitely help you in succeeding your goals, and going further, and maintaining your lifestyle. I had one more person who was fatty liver, with grade 2, I guess grade 2 or grade 3, and he wanted to run marathon. So he was very determined, and we got into his we more worked upon his wellness profile and his exercise as well, along with, because he wanted to go for marathon. And he actually ran half marathon, and with something a very good time, this 2 months back. That was also good achievement for us. So this is not only about getting your grade of fatty liver from 2 to 1 to 0. It's also about the other achievements in your life. Like somebody wants to go for some sports, this thing, he can also achieve that with better fitness. That's what we are doing it daily. The thing is, if you work on your lifestyle, I think more or less you will be able to prevent and better your life, better your whole life in general.
Right. So one big problem, and I think this is for people. A lot of people who come to you, I think they can get personalized guidance and all of that. But let's say somebody today goes to a supermarket, right? And almost everything is written as healthy, right? And people are working. So how do they, what are the strategies that somebody who's, let's say, both the partners are working, they go to, and they want to stay healthy. Do they have to come to you, or are there some things that that they can do in general? How do they understand what is healthy for them? Of course, they can get a Nutrigenomics report and get
They
started.
should. I was also going to start with that. They should get their Nutrigenomics, so at least we get some idea about their basic food intolerances and sensitivities. But this is a very good question and very relative question at this era, because we can't cut down all the foods, packed foods, totally. That will be impractical. So what I can say is total avoidance, if not possible. At least if you can tell yourself, ki if at all I'm going to eat processed food, let me restrict it to once a week. Okay, because any packed food, no matter what they are going to put it on the packet, any packed food, any processed, nowadays we are having ultra processed foods, ma'am. So any processed, ultra processed food is going to come with preservatives, lot of food additives. I think you can tell me better in how our body detoxifies and flushes all these preservatives and additives. But yes, they will come with a lot of these things, and no matter what they are advertising, you have to read the label. So even if they are saying that this is zero fat, if you go and read the nutrition content, there is a small table, nutrition composition table on every packed food. You just need to have look through it and check the fat content and sugar content. So we need to be more conscious when we are buying food, because whatever we are going to eat, our children are going to eat the same thing. I have seen families eating processed food daily, and their children are eating the same. The children are eating pizzas and burgers and biscuits right from the age of 2 and 3. And ma'am, imagine what kind of generation that will go when they grow up, with childhood obesity is on the rise. So I don't need to maybe explain that to further, but where does it all start? It all starts with this. It all starts with that one supermarket visit, where if we are picking all the processed foods, entire family is going to eat that. So if not total avoidance, at least restrict it to once a week. Try to take your children to the sabji mandi, vegetable market. If you see, ma'am, I have seen children, I always, whenever I see a childhood obesity client, I make it a point that I ask them that, tell me 5 names of vegetables. And you will not believe, ma'am, I don't get answer other than potato.
Potato. Okay.
And that's too sad. They don't
Yeah.
know the names of vegetables. They are not exposed to vegetables. So take your children to vegetable market, expose them to the kind of seasonal vegetables. And even with the adults, they don't know what is in winter is the season of vegetables. We get so many vegetables nowadays, fruits, right? Local fruits, local vegetables. So we need to have more of unprocessed, natural, local, seasonal, traditional. That's my favorite, I think, tagline is choose foods which are local, seasonal, and traditional. And if not total avoidance, at least restrict it to once a week, maximum twice a week. Take your children as a family to treks rather than malls, food malls. Because if we keep doing this weekend visits to malls, we are just raising an obese generation along with other lifestyle disorders. So we need to be more careful about, because children are seeing us and they are just going to repeat what we are doing.
True, absolutely. I think while you might get a little bit of walking on in the malls, I think you're probably doing more harm in in picking up all the wrong things.
Yes.
So I know that I can keep on, but we've reached about a quarter of an hour, so maybe quarter to the hour.
Ma'am,
So
actually, I wanted to ask you that
sure.
because you have started this way before than anybody in India. So what was your experience so far in genetics, and how did you must have come across so many case studies, so many transformations, that do you see anything liver related, any person who got into, who knew that they are at risk of liver, and you did help them from any point of view? What was your experience like?
No, we do, or I would say that I don't do the counselings that much,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
but we do get quite a lot of people, and I think like you said, many of them are interrelated, right? People who put, I mean, obese people or otherwise, there are people who are just eating out every day, or people who are just so busy in their work schedule. So a lot of people come in, and then initially when you ask them, are there any lifestyle related problems or any diseases, when you do the questionnaire, people don't talk as much. But when they do the counseling session, we realize that there is actually a lot of information that is there, and a proper history needs to be taken to be able to help them understand, right? And I think that's so typically, I remember when we first started, we said, any Genomepatri, we will do like a half an hour session. But we realized that was not enough, right? Because people suddenly, because when you ask the right questions, then suddenly I think a lot of people realize, they talk about it, and then they find out that one, they understand their family history better, but two, also that what they're what their lifestyle currently is. And so when you give them the recommendations, I think they are happy. I think the doctors their physicians are also happy, and their nutritionists also are happy. But I think, for nutrition especially, I think people need more guidance, right? And I think that's why, having an expert like yourself who's focused around nutrition is a very important aspect to how people, because they need that helping hand, right? Especially if you reach that level of unwellness, if I can call it, or not in a state of health. I think people need that little bit of guidance, right? Because not everybody is going to follow a report that they get without that right guidance, especially if they've gone to a certain to that bad state of health. But there are also people, I think now what we have started to see is that, we started Mapmygenome in 2013, and over a period of time, we came up with products that were in fitness, nutrition, but also cardiovascular and other things. And one of the other things we have started seeing now is that post-COVID, especially, people are very interested in, being well, because one, I think, like even I did, during the first part of COVID, I started cooking a lot, but also cooking breads, which was a very bad habit, right? But it's a habit that came and went. But a lot of people were also sitting at home, right? They were not going out to work, they were not exercising, not going to gyms and so on. But also, I think COVID did a number on a lot of us, right? So I think we started seeing that now everybody is coming back, revisiting their genetic reports. They're trying to figure out what needs to be done, and I think we started seeing a massive increase in people who really have started to value genomics. But it took a while for people to get to where they are. And I think we can still see more people, hopefully over the period of time, understand that will how it will get better. But you mentioned one thing when we started this conversation, and that was the microbiome. And I think right now I'm quite fascinated because you're planning to, come out with a microbiome product. So how have you seen that influence some of the outcomes for your patients? And do you think that people are asking for it, for a lot of it? Do people know what a microbiome is, or?
So currently, ma'am, we are more focused into nutrigenomics only. We are only doing DNA testing, but we are not doing microbiome testing. But I am really interested in it. I want to learn it. I think I need to learn, because as I said, the science is going to change. Some researches, some studies are going to come up in 1 or 2 years. And we also need to have that knowledge. And if we can at all integrate that knowledge and help people in getting their goals and better health, that would be great, I think. So I want to learn it. I want to go deep into it, and then maybe I can implement that into my clients and maybe help them out in a better way.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that it is quite fascinating to see, how your microbiome changes also.
Yes.
So,
yes.
So
and that's, I think, we get right in front of us, right? Before and after. Correct. We can see that before the microbiome, and after the integration, after the intervention, we can see the change. So I think that's very fascinating.
So I think I did when one of my tests was done right after I had eaten a lot of Japanese food, and you can actually see some of those bacteria that are actually found primarily in the Japanese population.
Japanese food. Oh,
so
nice.
It is quite fascinating, and I think we hopefully watch the space soon. We will hopefully get to that very quickly. So. So anything else that you would like to bring upon, or we'll move to the rapid fire question, the rapid fire questions after this.
I'm just happy that, as you were also saying, that the consciousness has increased. People are more aware of their health, especially post-COVID. They're more aware that they need to do some lifestyle changes in general. And nutrigenomics, genetic testing is definitely a tool which will be definitely clear-cut, helpful tool for them. So I'm just happy that we are into this era, that these sciences are, we are integrating this into the nutrition, and let's see where this goes.
Great. So shall we move to the rapid fire?
Sure, ma'am.
All right. And I know that a lot of people's New Year resolutions, involve nutrition and all that. But what are your New Year resolutions?
My New Year resolution is getting more physically active. Last year was all about, I couldn't do more physical activity because of my baby. So I want to be more physically active, and I want to learn something new.
Great. Which is the worst nutrition fad?
Keto diet.
Keto diet. Okay. All right. Do you practice what you preach?
Yes, of course.
Great.
People make fun of me, but let me tell you, I do not have any food app in my mobile. I don't order. But I think I could be the one of the rarest, but that's what I want to do. I don't want to order outside food unless it is an emergency.
I'm sure Swiggy or Zomato is not happy listening to that.
I have not got any badges this year.
Okay. Which is your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot is, I think we went to Seychelles, and that was pretty good. I think that was clearly, this was way back in some 5-6 years back. It was not so much popular back then. Now it is more popular, but it is definitely a good spot. I love beaches than mountains, so Seychelles was my favorite.
Any favorite movie or
favorite movie? Any Shah Rukh Khan movie, 90s.
Nice.
Any movie from 90s.
And do you read books?
I read books. I love to read books, but currently I am not able to read as many books.
You said
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why. But next year, I would love to read more books. You can tell me any suggestion of good book to read out, so I will definitely read that out.
I actually have published a blog on this best 10 science books.
Okay.
So it's there on the Mapmygenome blog.
Okay.
Also, I think one thing I've realized is that sometimes it's hard to read books sitting in one spot. So I've started doing a lot of the audiobooks. Because
yes.
you can walk and you can also listen. So I think and especially if you have small babies and all that, it's harder to, take a book and sit in a corner. But
yes,
if you have it on your, while you're taking care and, doing something, I think then it's fine. So
yeah, I will definitely check that article out, ma'am.
Sure. So I have books by, Siddharth Mukherjee. You have books by also, I think, like the Sapiens, the Homo Deus, and a few others. So you can have a look. Those are 10. I'm planning to publish a more exhaustive list of books to read for for 23. That I'm planning to read. So I think that will be another set of things that you can have a look at that.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Thank you so much, Meena. And just if there's any parting thoughts that you have, that we'll do. Otherwise, we will close this session.
No, ma'am, I need to thank you. And this was a pleasure, and this was honor to sit and discuss with you. And I'm thinking, just let us take this further. And I want to learn more things in nutrition and basically genetics. So this was a great session for me as well. And thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think I enjoyed learning a lot about all the great things, the great work that you're doing. And hopefully we'll get to meet in person as well.
Sure. We'll do. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.